Okay, so hello everybody. I am Zsuzsanna Koritár from Habitat for Humanity Hungary. I will talk about one-stop shops for energy poor households. But before that, I'd like to say who actually we are, who is Habitat for Humanity Hungary. Maybe some of you have heard about the international organization of Habitat for Humanity. This is a housing organization. It started in the United States. And we are one of its national offices. And Habitat for Humanity, as I said, basically focuses on housing issues, more specifically on housing poverty. At Habitat Hungary, we have two major branches of work. We have field programs, so we actually work with and focus on vulnerable households, and we basically renovate mostly partly their homes. And we also do research and policy work. I myself a part of the policy team, and we actually try to somehow impact the housing issues on a policy level and on a decision-making level. So we do engage with national and local decision and policy makers. Every year we have an annual report on Hungarian housing energy poverty. And the topic I'm going to talk about is actually kind of like the combination of these two fields. So this emerged from a field program, but now it has some policy implications, which I will also talk about. I promise that this will be the least interesting part of my slide of my presentation. I think it will get more and more interesting. Now you know me a little bit, but I don't know anything about you. So first, I would like to have a question to you. How many of you are, or how many of you at least feel that you are fairly familiar with the concept of energy poverty and the EU definition of energy poverty? Yes. Okay, the concept. Okay. Not so much. Those of you who just raised quite quickly, do you also work with energy poverty? Okay, so, okay, you too. Okay, great. But most of you maybe not. So this will be familiar to you, but I hope it will be new for the others. But I wanted to put this slide because just to make sure that we are on the same page and to know what this concept really means. So for many, many years, there was not an official definition for energy poverty, but certainly as it became more and more important in on the EU agenda, it really needed a definition. And lastly, last year, in the revised energy efficiency directive, there became a definition of energy poverty. Now, this is not the whole text. I just highlighted what I thought was the most important things from this definition, and this is that energy poverty is a household's lack of access to essential energy services caused by a combination of factors, and at least these three factors: insufficient disposable income, more simply put, it's low income; high energy expenditures, which means basically the percentage of expenditures on energy compared to the level of income; and the low energy performance of buildings. So as you can see, it has kind of social aspects related to low income. It has building aspects. It has fuel and energy use aspects. So it really incorporates these things. And I underline the word household, and this will be important from a specific aspect why it is a definition related to households. For a member state, an EU member state, to assess the rate of energy poverty within their countries, there need to be some indicators used. This is kind of like a requirement for each member state to assess the rate of energy poverty and look at who the really energy poor households in their countries. But these are the four basic indicators that at least should be used when assessing energy poverty. And I just wanted to list it because in the next slide I will talk about them a little bit. These are all Eurostat EU SILC indicators, which means SILC is the short term for Survey of Income and Living Conditions. So this is a survey of households, and it assesses the inability to keep the home adequately warm, whether the households can heat their home adequately, whether they have arrears on utility bills, so they are behind their bills, paying their bills, they have difficulties paying with their bills. The indicators are also about the buildings, so about dwellings with leaking roof, damp walls, floors. They can't ask about the energy performance of the buildings in these surveys. So this is how they try to assess the quality of the building. And last but not least is the at-risk of poverty rate, which certainly relates to the income component of energy poverty. Why is energy poverty important? Well, for a lot of things, actually. But by tackling energy poverty, we can address a number of social, climate, environmental, even economic issues at the same time. If we, it's just some of them which I highlighted. These are pictures actually that were taken by Habitat Hungary, and you will see more when I will talk about our program. So, if with the bad energy performance of houses with no insulation or poor insulation, with poorly sealed windows or very inefficient heating system, if we renovate them, if we tackle them, we can reduce the energy consumption and also the carbon emissions, which has climate implications. With the damp walls, the moldy dwellings, buildings, and properties that are underheated and not properly heated, there are indoor quality problems and health problems. Burning damp firewood or even coal can cause air pollution and again health problems, and the high expenditures on heating, mostly heating, causes affordability and residing social problems. So as you can see, if we address energy poverty, we can at the same time address many very important issues. I looked at your numbers in Albania and Kosovo, looked at these EU SILC indicators because I was interested how you perform in these indicators. And actually there are EU SILC numbers for Albania and Kosovo in the database. Actually, Albania runs a EU SILC compatible survey via this Instat. And actually, I looked at the homepage of the Statistical Institute, I guess. I found it extremely good. So it's in English, a lot of data are there. You can even do pivots with the different data. So I think this is a very good page that contains a lot of information. So just look at these four indicators that I listed at in my previous slides. You can see that compared to the EU average, your numbers are fairly high, which means that this indicates really that you will have some issues, and you really need to tackle and deal with energy poverty at a certain point. I also looked at, I found a paper about how your buildings are in terms of, well, not in terms of energy performance, because I couldn't find like an EPC database, but this, I think you know that, this study, and there are some figures that I brought here. I wanted to look at the ratio of detached houses and multi-apartment buildings, because they will need different approaches regarding energy poverty. And as you can see, regarding the number of buildings, there are the detached houses are much more. But if we look at the number of dwellings, they are a little bit even out, but still detached and single-family houses are more in Albania. I also looked at the construction periods and also what materials they are built of, because they are also interesting. Because you can see most of the buildings were built before 1990, so it kind of suggests that the energy performance of these buildings are not with the very highest standards. So, but most of them are made of brick or stone, which was interesting for me. And I also looked at the fuel mix, which is for the residential sector, so for the households, which is also very interesting. You can see that, well, you know it better than I do, that firewood usage is more than half in your country. And what I found also interesting is the use actually, well, compared to Hungary, quite high share of electricity use. And you can see also the differences. Well, kind of it makes kind of sense that in rural areas wood is much more used than in urban areas. And I don't know about the prices, the fuel prices. So I'm not sure whether this high share of wood usage means that, for example, wood is much more expensive than other fuels. Yeah, it might. Yeah. A lot. Okay. Okay.
Then firewood might be in the rural area.
Okay.
But electricity is.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, great. It's interesting, but this was also used in this 2017 paper, this 2011 data, and it was not updated. And I wanted to look at, you had also a census in 2023, but I couldn't find the data related to the buildings at Instat. But yeah, if there is newer data, certainly it's just an interesting fact, because in Hungary, fuel firewood is mostly used by low-income groups in rural areas, and they're quite a good indicators of energy poverty. Okay, so what is needed to tackle energy poverty? This will be quite general, but I wanted to go through these steps. So certainly there needs to be strategies, but I should have put political will first, because that's the most important, on a national, on a regional or local level. But then you need some kind of strategic approach, and of course the background, institutional and legal background to tackle energy poverty. And this, what I think is kind of like the most important, well, not the most important, but very important, is the identification of target groups. So what kind of indicators you use? Besides the 4 EU-SIC indicators, there are, I don't know, 50 more that can be used. It really depends on the countries or on the region or local level policymakers, what indicators they would use for that. But identifying and describing who the energy poor in that specific country are is quite essential for tackling energy poverty, because this will be this will indicate the criteria of how you approach and what your measures will be regarding to energy poverty. Certainly, you would need money, and I put here mostly for structural measures. this is my personal opinion that energy poverty need to be tackled at the root, so support programs for renovations. There are other kind of measures like direct income support or energy price support, but they are really just temporary. They are not solving the problem and the root of the problem. I really would go for renovations, and the one-stop shops are also about renovations. So this is why I put here. And when we have our target group and we have our political will and strategies and plans, and we have the resources, we need to ensure that the target group has access to these means and to these measures and to the support programs. And one of the best ways is through one-stop shops designed for the needs of vulnerable and energy poor households. Gergő talked about RenovAID, which is kind of like a general one-stop shop. But how is a one-stop shop that is designed for the energy poor different from that general? Is it at all different? Well, I think yes. Mostly because of the social targeting. So the clients and the customers are not the same. They have households that are at risk of energy poverty or in energy poverty. They have different needs, they have different problems, and they have different approaches. So we really need to understand how they think and what their motivations are and what their challenges are. So the social targeting is very important, and we need to make sure that the one-stop shop will serve their needs. What is this social targeting? What does it mean? It can have different criteria, like based on income thresholds, like under a certain level of income, the one-stop shop targets the households, or they are mostly the ones who are not eligible for commercial loans from banks. Also, it can be made through targets through kind of like an administrative targeting. So if on a national or regional or local level there is some kind of social assistance, social services that are already in contact with vulnerable households, they can be a good sign that they might also be energy poor. It can be a geographical targeting, like mapping through the country. A government can assign certain areas that are generally more energy poor, and also it can be like kind of like an energy need indicators, like what fuel type they use or what is dwelling quality. For instance, as I mentioned, that in Hungary, firewood is quite a good indicator for energy.
Like raw magics, but they do not have even a house, perhaps a proper house.
What is the specific question? What do you mean by if?
Maybe also might be.
Yes, but it's a little bit, it's a little bit tricky, because when you specifically, so you generally don't design a one-stop shop saying that this is only specifically for minority groups like Roma or something. You don't do this, because from an energy poverty point of view, this is not the issue. You can have different approaches and different measures and different ways to reach, for instance, Roma communities. But the services that are provided by the one-stop shop might not differ if it's a Roma household or not a Roma household. We can talk about that later, because our one-stop shop actually is a little bit touching upon this issue. This one-stop shop needs to have kind of like a different financial and support design, mostly because these households are in a different financial situation. They don't have saved money, so they cannot cover the upfront costs of renovations. They are not eligible for loans, so financial instruments cannot really be a part of these support programs. And much higher support intensity is needed for these households, mostly with non-refundable grants. I put here maybe different technical solutions because when we have kind of like restricted resources, like I don't know, a specific amount of money for a support program, and we need to be resource efficient, it might not be the same approach from a renovation point of view that for I don't know, like general renovations. So when we look at a building and we want to do a deep energy renovation, we always say that we should start with insulating the facade and changing the windows, because we need to reduce the heat demand and energy demand of the building. But with these households, it might not be the first step, because when we have a limited amount of money to spend on renovation, in certain cases it might be more efficient, and it has much more positive effects when, for example, we start with the heating system upgrades. So like changing the stoves of firewood. Gergő also talked about trust, and this is also this is even more important regarding energy poor households, because they are even more careful about how the very little resources that they have, how they use it and how they spend. So they are, according to our experience, they very often don't think, for example, when there is a state support program available, even with 100% non-refundable grant, they are not at all thinking about that they want to use that. As Gergő said, they are very much don't trust the installers and the constructors, because unfortunately it happens that they are much more what's the word? Yes, and in fact the installers take kind of advantage of the situation that these households don't have that much information, and they can say kind of like anything, and then the quality of the renovation turns out to be very bad, because they want to, you know, not spend as much money as should be. So proactive reach out means that I think this one might be one of the most important differences between a general and one-stop shop that is designed for the energy poor, is that it's not enough to have a kind of office where people can go in and ask about and go on with their renovations, because they will not go into that office and they will not go to people. They are not very aware that they need this renovation. They are not, as I said before, they are quite certain that the support program is not for them. And in fact, in Hungary, this is what actually happens, because support programs are generally designed for lower income, higher income households, so they are not accessible to. So proactive reach out, I will talk about more when I will talk about our one-stop shop, and certainly they would need more assistance. So you need to take their hands and you need to go through whole process of renovation, application for the support program, and you will see how we did that. I showed how in Albania how many single-family houses and multi-apartment buildings are there. I also looked at it because I was just thinking where to put my emphasis in this presentation, but kind of like it's both. So with different building types, you need different approach. And this is where the thing that energy poverty is defined on a household level it becomes interesting and challenging as well. Multi-apartment buildings and detached houses. So let's start with the kind of easier, well, not easier, but from an energy poverty point of view, it's a bit easier. So since energy poverty is defined on a household level, with detached houses, we have one building generally with one household. So when we renovate a building with bad energy performance and with energy poor household, that definitely this will target energy poverty. The difficulty is that as you may know, that buildings are geographically scattered, aggregation is difficult, so you need to deal individually with the houses. So the support programs and the one-stop shops have this way higher transaction costs per dwelling, so you cannot aggregate them, you cannot deal with a lot of dwellings at the same time. And dealing with each household makes it much more complicated. With the multi-apartment buildings, the question arises, and this is very high, well, not a debate, but a topic, a hot topic in the EU, how to target only the energy poor within one multi-apartment building. Because when there is financial resources, so money dedicated specifically to energy poverty, you cannot say that, okay, when I put a support program to renovate like panel buildings, then energy poverty is also tackled, because there need to be, it needs to be separated. So money money that is allocated to energy poverty must be spent on and only on energy poverty and not on other households. So this is tricky, and there is still many conversations are going on, and many thinking and projects and materials are developed. So it's still not a resolved issue. One aspect that is usually difficult with multi-apartment buildings is that there are common parts of the building, like the facade, maybe the ezt kinyomatom? Nem tudom mi ez. Igen, maybe the heating system that are common. So when renovating the building, the decision has to be made by a community, and this is also can be very tricky and can be very difficult to reach a common consensus. So in our opinion, this kind of like facilitating the decision-making process should also be supported by the one-stop shop. And again, the question is whether to support the entire building or individual households. It might be, there might be a solution that is proposed by, there are projects, the COMACT and COMACtivate projects. I'm sorry, I didn't put the link there, but these are specifically about multi-apartment building renovation projects. And what they basically propose is that they have to have a general support program for multi-apartment buildings, and in case there are inhabitants within the building who cannot afford the renovation, and they can be considered energy poor based on the indicators that are previously indicated, then they could get individual support through energy poverty resources. This link is actually Habitat North Macedonia has started a live project about one-stop shop. As far as I know, they focus much more on multi-apartment buildings than on single-family houses. So if you are interested, because this is in practice. So just take a look at this website, and I'm sure you will find much more information on that. And finally, this is our program, the one-stop shop for energy poor households. And I have to tell you that it didn't start as a one-stop shop. We didn't say that, okay, we want to set up a one-stop shop for energy poor households. What we did 5 years ago, so this is a program that has been running for 5 years now. What we did is that there is a government state subsidy available for rural households, for families with children. So there are several criteria. It's not energy related at all, but it is for renovation. It is not for low income, so it's not specifically for low income household. It's just 100% non-refundable grant for renovating houses that are in specific small villages for families who have children. And what we found is this, although it is 100% non-refundable, so the whole renovation is basically financed by the government, it is not available, not accessible for the low-income households because it is only reimbursed after the renovations happen. So as they didn't have the upfront costs, they weren't able to access this government support, although they would have been the ones who really need it. So what we did is we cooperated. We made partnership with a bank, a social banking branch of a bank, Erste Bank. And we started the program together. The bank provided a pool of money at the beginning for putting in the money for the renovations for the households. And after the renovations were performed and the state subsidy arrived, it arrived back to this. It worked like kind of like a revolving fund. So it didn't go to the family. It went into this pool. So this way we could use it again and again and again when the state subsidy came in. What we found out through the years that this could be spent. This money could be spent on any kind of renovation, so it didn't have any energy aspect. But what we found is that most of our families that we helped we ended up doing some kind of energy-related renovations. Okay, now so what we did? What was the secret ingredient of the one-stop shop is we had a local advisor. We only started it in one county of Hungary, and we had a local advisor who was quite known in her community. She's actually Roma herself, and she started to be like a kind of like an engager within her community to promote that there is this subsidy and they can use it. And this was very important, and I think this was actually the key to the success of our program, that because they knew this advisor and they could trust her, then they wanted to cooperate with us. So what are the services that we offer through this one-stop shop? We, as I said and I mentioned earlier, and I emphasized earlier, that we proactively reached out to the targeted households, first through our advisors network, and then we started to cooperate with municipalities, social services, local governments, social organizations, civil organizations, it's not that easy, I can tell you, but we started to do that because they are the ones who really know, they have personal contacts with the target group, and they can also build trust. So for example, if there is trust with social organizations because they have a kind of like a cooperation between them, and they work with families, then they can also trust them when they say that yes, you can definitely trust Habitat Hungary because they will not steal your money, but they will renovate your house. When we had these families, we need to check the eligibility. So we do a preliminary assessment, usually by phone, but sometimes online form, but it doesn't always work. So phone is, with this target group, phone works better. So there are some checkpoints that we need to ask them if they are eligible for the state subsidy itself. And when we find that, yes, they check the most boxes, then we visit the house and see if the dwelling itself fulfills the criteria, because the state program has, unfortunately, some criteria of which kind of houses they allow to renovate. And which is not included in the state subsidy, but which is important for us, Habitat, is we also kind of like check the social targeting when we visit the house. So we are certainly not allowed and don't want to ask about their income level, but we can see what kind of circumstances they live in, and because we really don't want to provide this free service to those who can apply for the state subsidy themselves. When we checked the eligibility and we found that yes, this family is perfect and we can do the renovation, we also assist the renovation, the planning of the renovation, because sometimes they have quite like an idea that, oh, we should, I don't know, paint the walls because this would be much nicer. But we generally advise them not to do that, to spend the money on something better. Like, for instance, when we see that the roof is leaking, we advise them to change the roof, or what we many times do is to change the heating system. And with that, we also have some kind of awareness raising and educational activities as well. We work with our energy auditors. We have our installers. I think we now work with, I don't know, 3 or 4 companies. And we also help the family with the budget planning, because there is only so much money that can be spent on the renovation. And we also calculate what fits into that budget and what would best suit the family. And when we have that, we also assist the application for the state subsidy. We assist the administration, the bureaucracy, and we also follow the application process, how it is going on. We facilitate the renovation. We are not there every day checking up on the renovation, but because the installers are within our network, and we know them, and we know that they carry out good work, so we can trust them. But sometimes we provide technical inspection if needed, and certainly throughout the renovation, we again assist the administration, the contracts, and the budget. And when the renovation is finished, we can submit the final reporting for the authorities that can provide the grant. And I think, oh yeah, and the quality assurance, this somehow connects with the trust. So because we work with our installers that we trust, and they actually, one of them comes from the community, so they are from the Roma community. They can be even more trusted. This is the quality assurance of this one-stop shop is very important, because as I said, these households are very often taken advantage of when there is like this government subsidy program, and some installers go there and they say that, oh, you can have, I don't know, 5 million forints through the subsidy. I will do this renovation. We will say that it costed 5 million, and then you get the money from the state. But then when the site visit comes, because there are sometimes site visits from the authorities, whether the renovations did really happen, then they find out it didn't. So they have to pay back the whole amount of money. So it's really unfortunately it does happen. So this one-stop shop guarantees that that the right renovation will be carried out.